COMELEC will conduct the upcoming 2022 presidential elections, national and local elections, including BARM elections, during pandemic times. Despite this pandemic, the COMELEC is doing its preparation under the new normal. So as we all know, we have Committee on New Normal, which will handle on how elections, preparations, and even in elections will be performed or done. Because we anticipate na this coming elections, andyan pa rin yung ating COVID-19 virus. In these coming elections, transparency is our utmost priority. Of course, we also take into consideration that elections will be peaceful, orderly, and credible. In 2019, alam naman natin there are minor glitches that happened. Number one is the 7-hour glitch that happened in Pupayos, where pushing results from the transparency server to media workstations were choked and can no longer accept results. And also, we have this glitch, the defective SD cards for more or less 2,500 nationwide. And also, the malfunction of around 2,000 VCM machines. I would say it's a minor glitch because all of these glitches did not result into a failure of elections or any tampering of results. So generally speaking, the COMELEC is proud to say that 2019 NLE was a successful elections. However, this time, with what we have experienced in the past elections, not only 2019, we make sure that all of this will be addressed. We know that what went wrong, and this time we will do the best of our ability to correct such incident. With respect to the 7-hour technical glitch, the same is already included in our terms of reference. For defective SD cards, now the VCM refurbishment, the SD cards will be bundled in the VCM refurbishment. And not only that, we introduce additional transparency for our elections this coming 2022. This is the first time that the COMELEC will now include the digital signatures of our electoral board in the transmission of results. And not only that, some other features that were not found or hindi natin ginamit in 2019 elections will be introduced for this 2022 elections, such as the voter's receipt that can now be transmitted in the transparency server and also in the canvassing center, so that the public can do its manual tally using the voters' receipts coming from the DCMs. So as head of the steering committee for this 2022 NLE, together with the other members of the steering committee, Commissioner Inting and Commissioner Ko, rest assured that we will do our best so that this coming election will be more transparent and, of course, peaceful, orderly, and credible elections. Thank you once again, and good morning, everyone.
Thank you, Commissioner Casquejo. Providing us updates from the Office of the Vulnerable Sector is Director Jovi Balingkit. Sir, good morning.
Yes, good morning, and good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, our all media practitioners. Yes, the Vulnerable Sectors Office, consisting of the three sectors: the senior citizen, the person with disabilities, the PDL, and the IP voters. No? So the efforts of the VSO right now, insofar as the senior citizen and PWD is concerned, is the continued coordination so that they would increase the electoral participation, surpassing the voters turnout in the 2019 elections. No? So in 2019, 70% of the senior citizen voted, while PWD about 66.77%. So we are trying our best to, by way of coordination and meetings with the sectoral organizations and advocate groups, in order for them to encourage them to register. No, but not so much about registration in the senior citizen, because majority of them are registered. Those we focus on those registrations have been deactivated. No? So our effort also, insofar as registration is concerned, is for the coordination of the organizations to our election officers for the conduct of special satellite registration for them. On the voting, we are uh, we are doing our effort now to increase or to maximize uh, the implementation of the creation of the emergency accessible polling places for our senior citizen and PWD voters, including the heavily pregnant women. This is an alternative, and this is an important uh, process for those vulnerable sector voters that did not update their voting registration record. No? So kung hindi sila nag-signify that they would vote in the accessible polling places, which is located in the ground floor of the voting center, chances are they will be voting on the second floor or third floor of a building or a voting center. So in those cases, there is this emergency accessible polling place just in the ground floor near the entrance so that the voting would be convenient to them, especially those whose disability are physical. No, so these are the efforts that the vulnerable sector is doing so that there will be an increased electoral participation of our constituents in the 2022 elections. So we also made sure during our information drive with the organizations that uh, we give them the background about the possibility of the new normal voting procedures. And these are the adoption of health and safety protocols, which we have made a dry run in the Palawan plebiscite, and probably with the adoption of some best practices in other countries. So these same health and safety protocols were being uh, imparted to them so that they will be encouraged that to vote, and that telling them that voting is safe for the 2022 elections. So insofar as the IP is concerned, the VSO has been doing the expansion of the creation of accessible voting center. Ito po yung malayo sila masyado sa community, there will be a voting center right there in their community. And also the creation of separate polling places or separate polling place in the voting center if there are issues of discrimination for the IP voters. So far as PDL is concerned, we are just finalizing the possible proposal for a minimal contact satellite registration in the detention facilities, because right now, like the BGMP, they have adopted a policy of RT-PCR from anyone, from everybody, including their personnel. So if COMELEC will be doing the satellite registration, there will be RT-PCR test before they would allow to avoid a community transmission inside the jail. So that's the effort, and those are the activities that the Vulnerable Sectors Office, which is the newest office in COMELEC, has been doing for the past several months upon its operationalization. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Balangkit. At this point, I would like to remind our media friends of the procedure for asking questions. You must message the tech support through the chat box to be acknowledged and be placed on queue. The tech support will pin, spotlight your video, and unmute you so that you can address the question directly to the speaker. Introduce your media outfit and full name first. If you want a specific speaker to answer your question, please mention their name before you proceed to ask your question. Questions on other issues may be entertained on the latter part of the Q&A. The moderator will prompt other matters at the appropriate time. For those whose questions were not raised during the main Q&A, please send your questions to eid@comelec.gov.ph with the subject line, MediaCon question, followed by the date of the MediaCon during which the question would have been raised. I now
Ang
turn
boses ko'y
over
gamitin, karapatan Sama-sama para sa bayan. Vote Pilipinas, kumilos na, magparehistro ka. Vote Pilipinas, makialam, makikaakit. Vote Pilipinas, magparehistro ka.
And Sir Dwight, kayo po yung nagsabi na magtatanong. Pa-turn on na po ng video natin, please.
Yeah, and we shall go straight into the Q&A. The first person to ask a question is Jay, and we shall go straight Q&A. The first person to ask a question is Jay, and we shall go straight. The first person to ask a question. Hello. Can we have Mr. JP Soriano, please? There you go. JP, good afternoon.
Good morning.
JP, can you hear me?
Am I being heard?
Yes, JP, we can hear you. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. Am I being heard, Director?
JP, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but can you hear me?
Yes, JP, we can hear you.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning po. Sige po. Sir, tatanong ko lang po, ulitin ko lang, kamusta po ang status ng voter registration? In
JP,
particular,
can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, JP, we can hear you. Good morning.
Good morning po. Sige po. Sir, tatanong ko lang po, ulitin ko lang, kamusta po ang status ng voter registration?
Good morning.
Good morning po. Sige po. Ulitin ko lang po, kasi parang nag-feedback lang, sorry. Kamusta po ang status ng voter registration, in particular ng mga kabataan? Ilan na po ang in total ang nakapagparehistro po? Sorry, I am talking about 18 years old na magiging first-time voters. Mga kabataan, ilan na po ang in total ang
Bart Sinopros, to please respond to that question.
James, I'd like to apologize because the data I have is not disaggregated into 18 years old or youth.
Okay lang, sir. Can we just have the basic figures, and then we will send the disaggregated data directly to our media room and to Mr. JP.
Right now, the number of registered voters as of the last ERB hearing, that's the election registration hearing on April, the number of registered voters stands at 58.9 million.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. JP, we will be sending you the disaggregated data. That is to say, the data separated into the different categories that we normally talk about. We'll send it to the press room. JP, we will be sending you disaggregated data. That is to say, the data separated into the different categories that we normally talk about.
Okay.
We'll send it to the press room.
Yeah, but can I have a follow-up question, please?
Go ahead.
Ano po ang pwedeng gawin ng COMELEC ngayon? Kasi po ang problem, may mga kabataan Okay, I think nawala ako. Okay, may mga kabataan
Sige, JP,
kasi
go ahead.
parang natakot silang lumabas para magpunta ng COMELEC, para magpa-register. Ano po ba yung alternative na pwedeng gawin sa mga hindi kaya or takot na magpunta, mag-personal appearance para na magpa-register? Para magpunta ng COMELEC, para magpa-register.
Before we continue, can I ask the Zoom room to please mute all microphones? Before we continue, can I ask the Zoom room? Thank you very much. All right. Yung question po ni Mr. JP Soriano is what do we do with the youth who appear to be apprehensive about voter registration? Sir Bart, would you like to take that question?
Yes, James.
Go ahead, sir.
Unang-una, we sort of fortified yung ating mga officers at the election officers. So, nag-adapt tayo dyan ng mga anti-COVID-19 proseso. May mga alcohol tayo, may mga wearing of face mask, may mga social distancing. Pangalawa, inopen na rin natin yung registration from Mondays to Fridays up to 5 o'clock in MGCQ or GCQ areas. Unfortunately, hindi pa natin po pwedeng gawin yung online yung face-to-face na filing ng application for registration. What we are doing now is just for the applicant to be able to schedule yung kanyang pagpunta sa ating opisina, and then makakapili siya kung anong date yung gusto niyang pumunta sa opisina. And by that, ma-allocate na rin natin yung mga taong pumapasok sa loob ng opisina para hindi magkaroon ng congregation o magkaroon ng mass gathering. Pangalawa, yung iRehistro project natin, effective na yan, in place na yan, ini-implement na yan, wherein pwede kang magpa-schedule kung kailan mo gustong pumunta sa offices ng election officer para magparehistro. To complement that, by July, pretty soon, ilalabas na rin natin yung ating sinasabing mobile app na pwede rin gamitin para magpa-schedule. Ang kagandahan ng mobile app na to is that hindi kailangan ng may internet or kahit or in weak internet na areas. Kasi ang iRehistro, kailangan may internet ka para makapag-schedule ka. Yung mobile application, you do not need an internet services sa area para makapag-schedule ka. Yun ang ating ginagawa ngayon. One, make safe for the people to file their application for registration, and then lessen the gathering or crowding sa offices ng ating mga election officers.
Okay, thank you very much, Director Sino Cruz. If I may add, the thing is, online voter registration is not allowed under existing. However, we do have the iRehistro application described ni Director Sino Cruz, and in July, the mobile app, which also allows users to fill up the forms online. But ultimately, kailangan pa rin magpa-biometrics, so they really have to go to the COMELEC offices. All right. Our next question. Thank you, JP. Thank you very much. The next question is from Mr. Dwight De Leon. May we have Dwight De Leon, please? Good morning, Dwight. Can't hear you.
Hello po.
Yes, good morning, Dwight.
Ano po ba?
You're supposed to ask a question.
Ayan po. Yung question ko po, address po sana kay Commissioner Castrejo. Commissioner, you assured the public po kanina that the problems encountered in 2019 polls would be addressed for 2022. In relation to that, recently you chose, COMELEC chose Smartmatic as an election software provider for the 2022 polls. And in 2019 the COMELEC said it will study to replace Smartmatic as its technology partner in light of President Duterte's pronouncements that time that there were alleged election irregularities. For the sake na rin po of our viewers, can you detail po what's the decision process that led to Smartmatic becoming the software partner again for the 2022 polls?
Okay, thank you very much, Dwight. Commissioner Casquejo.
The decision.
Okay, hindi naman natin nagkaroon talaga tayo ng glitch in the last 2019 elections, but then again, what happened in the 7-hour glitch, if I may be allowed to explain it, it's not part of our terms of reference when we do the bidding with regards to the transmission process. It was just an added features requested by the parties, by the media practitioners, that instead of getting data directly from the transparency server, they might as well have their own workstation. So, naging dagdag yun sa ating TOR. So, that is why, in our TOR for this coming 2022 elections, that will be purples. Okay. And with regards now to the Smartmatic, you will be saying, bakit sila? We did not choose Smartmatic, but they joined with the competitive bidding. So it's beyond our control kung sino man nanalo, who will be the lowest calculated bid, and we conduct the post-qualification, that is, may mga ano naman tayo, observers with regards to that, and we just follow what the GPTV rules give us. And by the way, Smartmatic is not our partners. They are now not our partners even in the start of the automation elections. They are just providers because it's the COMELEC who conducts the election, not anyone else.
Right. Thank you very much, Commissioner Castelo. I hope that was very clear. Smartmatic is a vendor. It is not a partner of the Commission on Elections. Thank you very much. Dwight, do you have a follow-up question? All right. No questions? All right. The third person to ask is Mayan from 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Wala na po. Okay na po ako.
Okay. Thank you, Dwight. Thank you, Dwight. Third person. Mayan? Mayan from there you go. Hi, Mayan.
Sir, good afternoon. Good morning. Do you hear me
Good
po?
morning. Yes. Thank you, Dwight. Thank you. Mayan?
Sir, you hear me po?
Yes, we hear you.
Yes.
Hi, Mayan.
Hi, sir. Sir, narinig niyo po ako? Maginaw, sir.
Yes.
Okay, sige. Sir, first question ko lang, balikan ko lang, sir. Yung sa filing of COC, parang sinabi po ni Sir Commissioner or Director Sino Cruz po na parang you're contemplating on allocating the filing days by position. Paano po? Are you thinking of may days na pang presidential and vice presidential posts lang and then iba yung days para sa iba pa? Can you enlighten us on this po? Kung plans na to.
Thank you. Director Bart, Executive Director Sino Cruz. I think that's a question for you. Thank you.
Yes, good morning. Basically, that will be the concept. But katulad ng sinabi ko,
I think that's a question.
James?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Basically, that would be the concept. But as I said earlier, kanina, that is one of the options being studied by the COMELEC. To explain further, the elective positions are divided into single elective position. Those that needed to elect a vote for one winner, and then multi elective positions wherein there would be several winners. Where you're studying whether there would be separate days for single elective positions, single winner elective positions, and separate days for multiple elective positions. So, like mayor and vice mayor, they are both single elective positions. Baka mga 2 o 3 araw ang para sa kanila, and the rest of the filing days would be for the candidates for Sangguniang Panlungsod or Sangguniang Bayan.
Thank you very much, Sir Bart. Mayan, was that did that answer your question?
For the candidates for Sangguniang Panlungsod or
Okay, I think Mayan is fine with that. All right. So may we have Mayan? Okay na? Answer your question.
Yes, sir. Pero follow-up lang sana ako, sir. Do you hear me?
Go ahead.
Sir?
Yeah, go ahead, Mayan.
Sir?
I think Mayan is fine with that.
Sir, may follow-up sana ako, sir.
So may we have Mayan?
Sir?
Okay na?
Sir, may follow-up lang ako. Mukhang may delay lang tayo, sir. Yes, sir. Pero follow-up lang sana ako, sir. Do you hear me?
Go ahead.
Okay. Sir, yung sa single elective position, and
Yeah, go ahead, Mayan.
Sir?
I think Mayan is fine with that.
Sir, may follow-up sana ako, sir.
So may we have
Sir, pasensya na, ang laki yata nung delay natin. Pero yung sa single elective tsaka multi-elective also goes with national days for president and vice president and the remaining days for senators. Sir, pasensya na, kaya tanong. Yung sa single elective tsaka multi-elective also goes with national days for president and vice president and the remaining days for senators.
It's one of the options being studied. Kasama rin sila. The idea really is to lessen the number of aspirants going into the venue for the filing of certificate of candidacy para makapag-ano ka ng social distancing. Kasama rin sila.
Okay. Sir James, may mga follow-up questions pa po sana
The
ako.
idea really is to lessen the number of aspirants going into the venue for the filing of certificate of candidacy para makapag-ano ka ng social distancing. Kasama rin sila.
Okay. Sir James, may mga follow-up questions pa po sana ako. They hear me po.
Going into the venue for the filing of certificate of candidacy para makapag-ano ka ng social distancing.
May I ask everyone with an open FB feed to either use a headset or to please mute the FB feed?
Sir, they hear me po.
Yeah, Mayan, go ahead. Go ahead, Mayan, please. Thank you. May I ask everyone with an open FB feed to either use a headset or to please mute the FB feed?
Hear me po.
Yeah, Mayan, go ahead.
Okay. Sir, what about campaigning? How do you see the 2022?
Go ahead, Mayan.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
How do you see po or picture yung campaign period? Like, kasi gusto nyo may social distancing and we have to syempre observe yung mga safety protocols. Paano po yun? May mga sorties pa ba tayo? Yes, sir. How do you see po or picture yung campaign period? Like, kasi gusto nyo may
Okay. Sir Bart, would you like to answer that question? Or any of the commissioners may answer the question if you wish. Basically, how will the campaign period look like, considering that the campaigns will be conducted under pandemic conditions? We have Sir Bart, Commissioner Amy. Would you like to take on the question? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Director James. Mayan, as of now, the existing guidelines on the campaign is still face-to-face. However, we are studying the possibility of modifying our rules on campaign since we have the pandemic. And we will see if we can do that as we progress. Kasi tinitingnan pa natin muna ngayon kung ano yung mga nangyayari sa ibang bansa and the cases that we have right now. So if it's not really advisable for us, for the candidates to go on a face-to-face campaign, I think we may limit or we may introduce some other forms of campaign that the candidates can adapt. Back to you, Director James. May I?
Thank you. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Commissioner Amy. Mayan, are you okay? Let's just give the lag a little time to get to Mayan. All right, I think we've waited long enough. May I have Miss Ina Reformina, please? Miss Ina Reformina has signified that she would like to ask a question. Can we move on to Miss Ina Reformina from the Zoom room, please? Ms. Ina Reformina. All right.
Sir
Yes.
James, can you hear
Yeah,
me?
yeah. Can we move on to Ms. Ina Reformina from the Zoom? Go ahead, please.
Can you hear me, Sir James? Am I on po?
Ms. Ina Reformina.
Sir, can you hear me, Sir
Alright.
James?
Yes, Ina, go ahead. Yeah, yeah. Can we move on to Ms. Ina Reformina from the Zoom? Go ahead, please.
Okay. My first question, good morning, Sir James, our commissioners, and other resource persons. My first question concerns the vulnerable sectors. The definition of vulnerable sectors now has expanded in light of the pandemic, whereas before it just used to be senior citizens, PDLs, PWDs. Now we have the comorbidities or persons with pre-existing conditions. Will they be accommodated in the emergency polling places? Is that possible? What adjustments can be made for them if the COMELEC is entertaining certain adjustments so that they can cast their votes safely come election day po?
Thank you very much. I mean, I think very clearly this question belongs to Director Jovi Balangkit of the VSO. Director Jovi, take it away.
Yes, all right. In so far as those voters who have comorbidities, yes, they can avail of the emergency accessible polling place. No, in fact, for those who have already registered but did not update the registration record, uh, during voting day, they can decide right then and there whether to avail of the emergency accessible polling place. So it's emergency precisely that is to address the voting convenience of the persons with disabilities, especially those with physical disability, because the EAPP or EAP has been adopted as a policy by the Commission starting 2019 to make sure that voters, especially the vulnerable sectors, the senior and the PWD, can vote conveniently. No, kasi possibly kung hindi sila nag-update ng kanilang voting registration record or hindi sila nag-yes doon sa tanong sa supplementary data that they want to avail or to vote in the APP or accessible polling place, possibly boboto sila sa second floor or third floor, o kaya doon sa mga areas naman sa countryside na baka yung voting center is pataas o kaya pababa, that would cause harm to them. So meron tayong EAPP. So itong may comorbidities are covered. In fact, kasama dito yung heavily pregnant women. Of course, wala kaming data kung sino yung pregnant at the time of the elections. Kaya nga, emergency ito. At the time of the voting, if they are pregnant, 6 months on the family way, they can avail also of the emergency accessible polling place, which are located in the ground floor and in the near and in the entrance of the voting center.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Director Jovi. Just to clarify, before I give it back to Nina, I'm sorry, to Ina. Director Jovi, ang importante lang, even for those with comorbidities, is for them to fill up annex, the supplementary data form, correct?
Yes, yes, meron tayong ini-encourage natin ng lahat na mag-update ng voting registration record, voting record nila. Ito yung supplementary data na nakalagay doon, i-check nila kung ano ang type of disability at saka kung ano ang type of assistance that they need on election day. In order for COMELEC to prepare for the assistive device that are needed in that particular APP or accessible polling place. Kasi pag hindi namin alam, we might need their SL, yung sign language interpreter kung mga deaf sila. So there is we advise them to update their registration record. Ito yung aming supplementary data na aming pinapakiusap at sinasabi sa ating mga organizations na please follow up or comply or by way of filling up the supplementary data.
Thank you very much, Director Jovi. Ina, is there another question you would like to ask? Okay, I was told that there are problems with audio in the Zoom room. So we just have to be a little patient with the delay. So, Ina, do you have any other questions?
Yes, sir. My second question, thank you for that answer, Paul, regarding the mention of voting hours. Previous webinars of the COMELEC, or where COMELEC resource persons are guests. Do we already have a decision, sir, or is
Thank you very
still
much.
under
All right.
Thank you.
We have a question here. It was sent to us from Mr. Mr. Gerard Naval of Malaya. I'm just going to read the question out loud, and then we'll assign the response afterwards. From Mr. Naval of Malaya, first, regarding voter registration, will the overseas voter registration in local satellite offices also resume? If they do resume, ano po ang schedule nila? Right? The second question is, konting elaboration lang po sana on the adoption of digital signatures. What prompted COMELEC to finally allow it? And can you elaborate on the sending of voter receipts to the transparency server? Of course, this will be answered by Commissioner Casquejo. Number 3, regarding campaigns, given the continued threat of COVID-19, is a fully online campaign being considered? Do you think that it is feasible or practical? I think this was already answered by Commissioner Amy earlier, that alternative means of campaigning are being considered right now. So we have 2 questions. The first is regarding voter registration, overseas voter registration in local satellite offices. May I ask Director Bart to please give us the lowdown on that?
Thank you, James. With respect to the local field registration centers or the satellite registration center for overseas, definitely yung local field registration centers at the OPOB will open. And then OPOB will coordinate with the local field registration centers located at the different offices of the government like OWA, yung nasa DFA. We will need to coordinate with them. Depende na kasi kung ano yung existing arrangement nila doon kung bago sila makapag-start, because baka meron silang sariling lockdown procedures. But definitely, since na-downgrade na ang NCR to GCQ, I think it's time for them to open na rin.
All right. Thank you very much, Sir Bart. And on that note, I'd just like to remind everyone, GCQ na po ang NCR, so voter registration will resume on Monday. All right, then the second part of the question of Mr. Naval is, he's asking for additional elaboration on the adoption of digital signatures. May we ask Commissioner Casquejo to please tackle that question?
Okay, James. With regards to this digital signature, is more on an electronic signature. So, alam naman natin, the ICT is now implementing digital signatures, even the COA rules. Sinasabi nila, we need to have our own digital signatures. And even our senior staff, our offices, our election officers, meron na din sila digital signatures. This is to make sure that what was being transmitted from the VCMs, from the voting center, ito yung election returns that will be transmitted also to the canvassing center. So our electoral boards will have their own digital signatures. So we implemented this right now because we already have the resources. We want to implement this even in 2016 elections in 2019. However, the ICT is not yet capable of doing digital signatures. If we hire a third party to do that, we will spend more than $1 billion or $500 million for that. So, sa ngayon kasi meron na tayong resources and we have the ICT to do that. then it is the right time to implement the digital signatures. However, even before, this is mandated by law, even before the Supreme Court has already ruled that the digital signatures created by the machine itself is already sufficient. It is already sufficient as compliance with the automation law. But then again, we have to be transparent, more transparent. So that is why we implement now the digital signatures. Okay, with regards to the other questions with the transparency server, we decided that the voter's receipt, from the time you inserted the machine, the ballots in the machine, lalabas yung voter's receipt kung sino yung binoto nyo. So for that, the public can do their own manual recount or quick count, shall we say. We also include the transmission of the voter's receipt. So doon po sa transparency server, the media server and the media entities, as well as the PPCRB or any watchdog of the COMELEC can do their own quick count, or shall we say, magkakaroon sila ng audit using the voter's receipt. So that is more to be more transparent in the result of the elections. The COMELEC decided to include that in the transmission of the result, not only the election returns.
Thank you very much.
That's all.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Casquejo. Now, as you may have noticed, we are gathering questions from all different sources here. So we have another question from one of the chat groups. I think this is addressed. This could be answered by Commissioner Inting. Ma'am, is COMELEC considering heavily pregnant women to be considered for local absentee voting? Meron po bang posibilidad kaya na isulong ng COMELEC ang ideya ng heavily pregnant women ay pwedeng maisama sa local absentee voting? Commissioner Inting?
That is a good suggestion. We might be considering that. We have lined up several projects and programs regarding gender and development programs, and we will see. We would like to take advantage of that and consider these pregnant women to be given special accommodations.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Inting. We have another question from Ms. Ina Reformina, and I appreciate that she just sent her question via text, considering the signal difficulties that they're having in the Zoom room. So if I may read the question from Ms. Ina Reformina, what aspects of the preparations, physical, technical, etc., have been affected by the pandemic and quarantine restrictions? And what is the COMELEC doing to address these things, if any? May we have any of the commissioners to respond, please, or Director Bart to respond to the question? Again, what aspects of the preparations, physical, technical, etc., have been affected by the pandemic and quarantine restrictions? Oh, there it's on the screen. And what is the COMELEC doing to address these things? May I ask, let's do all of the commissioners. Can we start with Commissioner Amy? Commissioner Amy?
Yes, Director James.
Thank you, ma'am.
Almost all aspects of the preparations have been affected. What we are doing now is we of course we rise up to the challenges of the times. For the bidding, we used to have a face-to-face conduct of the bidding, but now we are now allowing online. So we are allowing virtual conducts of meetings and seminars, but the only activity that cannot be done online yet is the conduct of the ERB hearings. That has been there have been several requests for the rescheduling of the ERB hearings, since some depending on the reason for the rescheduling of the hearings, some are the other members are not available because they have been close contacts or were themselves were infected with the COVID-19 disease. But there are areas also where the commission itself rescheduled the conduct of these hearings because the area where they belong are declared under ECQ. So, in all these aspects, in all the preparations, we are looking at alternative modes of conducting these activities, which cannot, except for those activities that really there is no alternative mode. Thank you, Director James.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner, if I may follow up on the question, you are the head of the Packing and Shipping Committee. Meron po bang impact ang COVID sa operations ng Packing and Shipping Committee?
Yes, Director James. So far, although my challenges really in the transport of the supplies to our field offices, maraming mga nade-delay, may difficulty, especially when they cross the border, when they are required for PCR tests. But prior coordination to their destinations would eliminate those problems. Yung mga pinapadala namin ngayon through personal delivery of the Packing and Shipping Committee members, personnel, yung within sa Luzon area, dinideliver yon ng mga tao ng PSC. But for the other areas, so we also encounter difficulties, especially kung yung mga courier natin ay may schedule lang, yung mga flights papunta ng other areas. So except for that, kaya naman na-address naman ng PSC yung pagpapadala ng mga supplies and materials to our field offices.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Amy. May I ask Commissioner Marlon, please, do you think that the preparations have been affected by COVID?
Yes, James, tama yung sinabi ni Amy. Almost all were affected by this pandemic, not only physical but also the technical aspect. Unang-una is the SPAC procedure. So we have to go another mode of alternative mode of doing the SPAC procedures. But then again, there are things online, like for example, with the post qualification, we have to do some visit with the site kasi andun yun sa DOR. And ito meetings din natin. So it would be better if we do face-to-face meeting, but because of these limitations that we have right now, medyo affected talaga. But then again, naging advantage din ito because almost all, anytime pwede natin ipatawag yung ating mga directors for that meeting. So naging advantage ito ng COMELEC. Even if maging sick. Kasi online lang naman yung meetings natin. And one thing na talaga naging problema natin is the registration process because we are trying to catch up with our target, which I don't know if we can still get the target of 62 or 63 billion with the pandemic. Medyo mahirapan tayo because we have to limit also the number of registrants per day. So, but then again, we address that by doing some satellite registrations and also doing some online booking of the registration para hindi mahirapan yung ating mga tao doon. Pero sa pa rin because limited talaga yung tao natin na pwedeng maparehistro. And with regards to the PMO activities, although it's not yet on process pa tayo ngayon, like for example, for the field test, baka magkakaroon tayo ng konting problema lang naman on the travel of our personnel, baka in some municipalities na pupuntahan nila or cities that they will require PCR test or negative results and it requires the physical distancing. So siguro magkakaroon tayo ng medyo adjustment or major adjustment with that. With our certification, with our ICE International Certification Entity, we have to go to abroad to do that. So sa tingin natin, medyo okay naman siguro yung pandemic situation in the US or any other countries kung saan the certification will be conducted. And also the local source code review. As we all know, when we do local source code review, naka-include yan, it must be in an air-conditioned room. But then again, hindi inaalaw ng ating local source IATF kasi baka if we enclose our local source code reviewer in more than 8 hours or 8 hours, baka magkaroon ng hawaan doon. We will still look at it kung ano yung magiging proseso. Are we going to negative PCR results so that we can join with the local source code review or just an antigen test or whatsoever. So pag-uusapan na yan, and next week kasi there will be a 3-in-1 conference with the COMELEC, within COMELEC, and pag-uusapan yung new normal procedures and policies on how are we going to do not only on election day, on campaign, but also in the preparations of our election. So malaki talaga yung impact ng ating COVID pandemic, but rest assured the COMELEC is doing its best, and kaya naman ng COMELEC na gawin ito despite this COVID-19 pandemic. That's all, James.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Casquejo. As head of the Gender and Development Committee, meron po pa kayang gustong sabihin? Si Commissioner Socorro Inting. Is she still here? Okay, naka-off na yung camera ni Commissioner Inting.
Yes,
Yan.
I'm present.
Yes po.
Yes, I would just like to add that that we are providing rooms for lactating mothers during election day. So, aside from that, I now recall that in our general instructions, we allow pregnant women to use our express lanes together with our PDLs. And for those media practitioners who want to be updated on our programs of the Gender and Development Focal Point System, we can send you an update if you give us your email address. That would be all.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Inting. All right, we're going to take on our last two questions now from Mr. Robertson Ramirez of the PhilStar. I-require ba magbigay ng negative results sa RT-PCR test ang mga magfa-file ng kani-kanilang mga COC? May I ask Executive Director Sino Cruz to please answer the question? Are we going to require a negative RT-PCR test results for those who will be filing their COCs?
James, right now, dinidiscuss ngayon yung proseso natin ng filing ng certificates of candidacy. So the department is at it now. They're drafting the process for the filing. And titingnan natin kung ano magiging kalalabasan ng kung magre-require sila ng RT-PCR test. But that will still be a matter to be decided by the NBank. It's one of the issues being studied.
All right. Thank you very much, Executive Director. So the issue of RT-PCR tests being required for filing COCs, that's still under study by the Commission on Bank. And finally, we have a last question. How will the presidential debates look like? Will it be virtual or face-to-face? Will it again be made mandatory for candidates to participate? Who would like to take on the question?
James, if I may.
Yes po, sir. Commissioner Casquejo.
Okay, as I have said earlier, next week, by Monday, we will be having our 3-in-1 conference with regards to this new normal. So, pag-uusapan din ito kung paano itong presidential debate. Definitely, there will be a presidential debate. But then again, the question is, will it be face-to-face or virtual? So, I think mas maganda siguro if it's hybrid. So, we can do a face-to-face with a virtual audience or a virtual candidates, including candidates, pwede rin maging virtual sila if they cannot go to the venue, and with a virtual or limited audience. So I think that will be considered next week in our 3-in-1 conference for the new normal.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Commissioner Casquejo. And that wraps up our Q&A for the first regular media conference of the Commission on Elections. Thank you very much. And I turn you back over to our MC, Ms. Nina.
much, Director Jimenez. And that concludes the first regular media conference for the 2022 national and local elections. Unless otherwise necessary, the next MediaCon will be on the 11th of June 2021. We shall be having one media conference a month until the end of the year. I am Nina from the Media Management Team of the Education and Information Department. Have a good day.
Vote Pilipinas, kumilos na, magparehistro ka.